Larry, I hope you, Luanna Simon, Kathy Klages, John Geddert, and all of the USAG are scared because you have pissed off the wrong army of women.
Nearly 100 women and girls who accuse the former MSU and USA Gymnastics doctor of sexual assault will share their remarks before he learns his fate.
It was certainly a very emotional day, to say the least. The courtroom was packed, and at times people were passing Kleenex boxes. But despite all the negative that has come out of this, many say for the first time they're feeling empowered because for once their voices are being heard.
Perhaps you have figured it out by now, but little girls don't stay little forever. They grow into strong women that return to destroy your world.
Victims of former MSU and USA Gymnastics doctor Larry Nassar got the chance to face their perpetrator in a packed courtroom today. Some of them addressing him for the first time since they were first abused.
The number of people whose lives you've altered does not stop at the victims. It has also impacted the people closest to us in our lives.
MSU released a statement saying the university, including President Luanna K. Simon and Board of Trustee Chairman Brian Breslin, have been viewing the brave women who have come forward to tell their stories. The statement says that words cannot express the sorrow they feel for Nassar's victims, and the thoughts and prayers of the entire MSU community are these women with the women as they listen to their heartbreaking testimony. Now, there are dozens of women who are still expected to speak throughout the week. We will be in the courtroom for every single one of them and bring you the latest on this story.
It was day 2 of another heartbreaking day of testimony, and it wasn't only Nassar victims who spoke.
Lauren and Sherry, more women who spoke out today say they aren't staying silent anymore. Many, for years, thought they were seeing one of the best doctors in the area, only to find out years later that his treatments were not legitimate. Speaking out publicly for the world to hear is something they say is part of their healing process. As we continue to learn more about the women and girls who are sexually abused by Larry Nassar, you hear a common theme.
I have felt anger, fear, sadness, anxiety, frustration, self-consciousness, and unbelievable levels of stress.
MSU President Luanna K. Simon joined the hearing this afternoon. Reporters and even victims of Nassar pressed her with questions.
I think there are steps being made towards accountability, and there are other steps that will follow.
Now, before today's hearing, the judge wanted to take care of some business involving a letter that Larry Nassar wrote to the court. Take a listen.
Judge Aquilina is seeking media attention over court protocol.
Day 3 of Larry Nassar's sentencing hearing started with the judge addressing concerns over a letter the former doctor wrote, calling for what he says was a cry for mental health. According to Judge Rosemarie Aquilina, Nassar said he was having issues with his heart and wasn't sure if he'd be able to sit through the entire week-long sentencing hearing listening to his victims speak.
Let this sentence strike fear in anyone who thinks it is okay to hurt another person. Abusers, your time is up.
Another Olympic gold medalist takes the stand and tells the judge to give the maximum penalty to Larry Nassar. It's our top story at 5. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jorma Duran. Lauren has the night off. Day 4 of the sentencing for former MSU and USA Gymnastics doctor Larry Nassar brought more women and girls to the stand to share their stories of the abuse they suffered under the guise of medical treatment, telling the court how that abuse continues to impact their lives. Nassar has pleaded guilty to sexually assaulting a handful of women and girls, but more than 100 others say he abused them as well. Nassar's sentencing hearing started on Tuesday. We found out this morning Weber says she's one of them.
I thought that training for the Olympics would be the hardest thing that I would ever have to do. But in fact, the hardest thing I've ever had to do is process that I'm a victim of Larry Nassar.
I've just signed your death warrant.
Larry Nassar learns his fate in an Ingham County courtroom. It's our top story at 5. Thanks for joining us. I'm Lauren Thompson. We have team coverage for you tonight on what went down in the courtroom on the 7th and final day of Nassar's sentencing hearing.
Lauren, Judge Rosemarie Aquilina sentenced Larry Nassar to 40 to 175 years on the 7 sexual assault charges he pleaded guilty to last year. This brings an end to the week-long sentencing hearing in Ingham County, where 156 women and girls made victim impact statements. The judge wanted to make sure their voices were heard, telling Nassar he does not deserve to look outside of prison ever again.
I've just signed your death warrant.
54-year-old Larry Nassar will spend at least 40 years in prison for sexually abusing dozens of women and girls under the guise of medical treatment.
You've gone off the page here as to what I'm doing. My page only goes to 100 years. Sir, I'm giving you 175 years.
Larry Nassar will never be a free man again. The former MSU and USA Gymnastics doctor learned his fate today.
The sentence followed 7 days of emotional testimony from his victims in Ingham County Circuit Court as they detailed the stories of abuse they suffered.
Our Alexander Illich was in the courtroom today. Tell us what happened, Allie.
Lauren and Sherry, 40 to 175 years. That's how long Larry Nassar will serve in prison for pleading guilty to 7 sexual assault charges in Ingham County. And even though the former doctor admitted that he used his position to prey on young women and girls, the judge wanted to make sure he still stands by that.
This is a breaking news alert from 6 News.
Good evening, I'm Sherry Jones. We're here for you now with breaking news out of East Lansing. Michigan State University President Luanna K. Simon is stepping down. A university official has confirmed for 6 News that this letter has been sent to the University Board of Trustees indicating that Simon will be stepping down. She says the stories shared by Nassar's victims are horrific, and she understands why she, as university president, has become the focus of anger in this ongoing scandal. She says she cannot make this scandal about her, and so she is officially resigning, according to the terms of her employment agreement.
This is 6 News at 6.
How our legal system.
Well, I'm gonna have to stay down.
What you just saw was the father of 3 of Larry Nassar's victims trying to attack the former gymnastics doctor in Eaton County Circuit Court.
Security tackled him to the ground and no one was hurt, but it certainly caused for some tense moments. Our Alexander Illich was in the courtroom today. Tell us more about what happened, Allie.
Well, Lauren and Sherry, we've seen a lot of tense moments in court. Not one quite like this, though. I mean, some parents in Ingham and Eaton counties have gotten the chance to speak. Some parents have cried, some have expressed anger. But for one father, his emotions got the best of him.
But to you, Larry Nassar, I just hope you live a long, slow life in prison. I want you to know that you no longer hold power over me or my thoughts.
Randall Margraves, the father of 3 women who are victims of Larry Nassar, stood by his daughter's side this morning and heard for the first time the details of the sexual abuse they suffered at the hands of the former doctor.
Judge, what a distraught father. Have a chance to say something.
Once his daughters were finished, Randall asked the judge to speak.
You son of a bitch.
No, we don't want to swear.
This exchange took place between Margraves and the judge.
To grant me 5 minutes in a locked room with this demon.
That's when things escalated.
You know that I can't do that. That's not how our legal system works.
Deputies in court sprung into action and tackled Margraves to the ground.
Get out.
You could hear people crying in the gallery as the chaos unfolded in the middle of the courtroom. Margraves was put in handcuffs and held in contempt. After breaking for lunch, Judge Janice Cunningham had Margraves brought back into the court to address the situation.
There is no way that this court is going to issue any type of punishment given the circumstances of this case.
Judge Cunningham told Margraves she could not charge him, but said this.
It is not acceptable that we combat assault with assault. We have to teach our children and other adults that when people do things that are wrong and they break the law, we handle that by using the legal proceedings to punish them.
Be careful. Be accurate.
I think I'm okay. We sat in a conference room.
Factually mistaken.
We sat in a conference room where I briefly told President Engler my story. I told him how much I love MSU and wanted to help them heal, to make real change. He explained all of the new things they've implemented, which sounded promising, but said working together couldn't occur until the civil suits are settled. Mr. Engler then looked directly at me and asked, "Right now, if I wrote you a check for $250,000, would you take it?" When I explained that it's not about the money for me and that I just want to help, he said, well, give me a number.
One thing you learn about covering this former governor over the years is that there is no middle ground when it comes to John Engler. Either you like him, and the MSU board clearly does.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Or you don't like him or his policies.
The damage that can be caused by appointing a politician as an interim president on an already polarized campus is catastrophic.
To voice their dissent over this choice, one student took up temporary residency in the middle of the boardroom. And this student, head of the campus Democratic Club, complained about being left out of the process and then described Mr. Engler this way.
What we got were shady backroom dealings, which resulted in the political appointment of a straight, white, wealthy male who is just conservative enough to keep our elected officials down Michigan Avenue pacified for a little while longer.
The former governor, who is pretty good at counting noses, says he will not be asking for state aid, but he doesn't rule out a tuition increase.
It's not our intent to do that. I mean, we're not here to ask for that.
So you don't want to use tuition to pay for the settlement, though, right?
Actually, what we're hoping to use is find a leprechaun and get. No, I mean, seriously, we have not made those decisions.
What grade would you give yourself as far as leading the university?
Well, fortunately, I don't have to enroll in any classes or get any grades here at the university. That's one thing about not being a student anymore.
Give yourself a grade.
I'm not going to give myself a grade.
Well, why not?
That would take the fun out of it for the media. They love to do those things.
When the private email became public, there was MSU interim president John Engler hinting that one of the leaders of the survivors may have been part of a kickback scheme. The interim president, however, was in Texas when the story broke.
I was in Texas, and I frankly wasn't talking to the office or paying much attention.
So you had no contact with the office at all for 8 days?
No, I'm not on something like that.
Since Mr. Engler was out of touch, he did not know that 2 MSU trustees were calling on him to resign. The survivors also wanted him fired, and others wondered why Mr. Engler was not saying anything or apologizing for his alleged inflammatory remarks. Nobody called you up and said there's a fire burning back on the Red Cedars.
We've had a Red Cedar lined with fires and camps since I've been here. Remember, we're talking about a private email.
Well, yes, but it was public that you had said it. It wasn't private anymore.
Luana K. Simon is arraigned on criminal charges in an Eaton County courtroom. We're here for you tonight with a look at the case moving forward.
Oddly enough, the former MSU president found herself in the exact courtroom where disgraced Dr. Larry Nassar sat almost a year ago. Today, she listened to a judge break down the charges filed against her.
This is the case of the people of the state of Michigan versus Luana K. Simon.
The hearing lasted for no more than 10 minutes, with her attorneys by her side.
Do you understand the nature of the charge and the maximum penalty?
I do. Luana K. Simon told the judge she understood the charges against her and was freed on a $5,000 PR bond. The former MSU president then moved to the Eaton County Sheriff's Office, where she was booked and fingerprinted. The judge also ordered her to submit a DNA test, surrender her passport, and said she cannot leave the state without the court's permission. The former MSU president is accused of lying about what she knew about a Title IX report against Larry Nassar, which was filed by Amanda Tomashow back in April of 2014.
A community is in shock after 2 people were shot and killed today on the campus of Central Michigan University. It is our top story tonight at 6. Thanks for joining us. I'm Sherry Jones.
And I'm Lauren Thompson. It was the last day before spring break for CMU students.
But the excitement to take some time off from class was shattered when shots rang out at around 8:30 this morning.
It happened on the 4th floor of CMU's Campbell Hall. That's a residence hall on the university's main campus in Mount Pleasant. What can you tell us about the search, Jorma?
Sherry, Lauren, the search for 19-year-old James Eric Davis Jr. is still underway. More than 100 officers are out searching for him, both on the ground and in the air, although it's going to get dark very soon, so the air search will likely need to cease. Now, Davis is a student here at Central Michigan University, but authorities say both shooting victims are not students or faculty. We were told this is a domestic dispute, and as we just mentioned, involving the suspect's parents, who are still inside Campbell Residence Hall, where the shooting took place.
We're going to send it back to our team on CMU's campus. Madeline Odell is there getting reaction from students and parents tonight. Maddie, what did they tell you?
Sherry and Lauren, students are now being allowed to leave and go back into their dorms, but that wasn't the case even just a couple hours ago. We spoke to some students earlier today who were here before they were able to leave.
Regarding this morning's incident on CMU's campus, the suspect is still at large.
This is the message students at Central Michigan University received this morning.
At this time, please shelter in place where you are if you are located on CMU's campus. Thank you.
Warning them about an active shooter on their campus.
I just kind of think like it would never happen here, but just crazy people, crazy world.
Hundreds of residents in 6 Lansing neighborhoods received one of these today. It is a flood evacuation checklist, and as it says right here, serious flooding is possible in your neighborhood starting tomorrow. It may not be safe to stay in your home. Take a look behind me. This water was not here 2 hours ago. This is how much water has flooded the area in just that amount of time. And look at this. This water is moving. You're looking at active flooding right now. It's slow going. You can see some of the debris, but this is real. Mayor Andy Shore and Congressman Mike Bishop say it was very important for them to see the flooding firsthand. They also got to see it high in the sky with a helicopter ride. It helped them make a major decision yesterday that, according to Emergency Management Chief Mike Tobin, saved roughly 80% of the Urbandale area from taking on floodwaters, and it was the construction of this barrier you see right here at the intersection of Kalamazoo and US 127.
There's houses that are flooded through with water. It's important to see it firsthand, to get pictures of it.
I take all this information and all the my observations with me so that when the application is made to FEMA by the governor and this begins to matriculate through the system for consideration with the president, that I'm there so that I can make a personal testimonial and be a part of the application process.
The worst of the flooding is over. River levels are not expected to rise any further. Bad news, though, the problems won't go away when the water does. There's a lot of work to be done, from refurbishing to re-inspecting to rebuilding. Floods have caused a lot of damage. But Mid-Michigan won't be alone. There will likely be help at the state and federal levels. In fact, Congressman Mike Bishop, who represents Ingham County, toured the area with Lansing Mayor Andy Shore this morning. He says it helped him understand the scope of the damage and will help him make his case when he goes back to Washington.
Was really shocked at what I saw. I had heard assessments of what the situation was, but I never, ever, and I've been in this community for a long time, never have I seen it this bad.
In other news tonight, MSU Interim President John Engler called a news conference this afternoon on how the university is handling all this flooding.
Our Alexandra Illich was there. She's here for you now with a look at what's happening on campus.
The water levels in the Red Cedar River are projected to be the highest we've seen since 1975. So in order to take precaution, crews are working on MSU's campus to install these barriers that you see here to protect the campus from flooding.
When something like this comes along, as you just heard, once every 40 or so years, you want to make sure you don't get caught by surprise.
The number of flood victims didn't reach into the hundreds like emergency managers feared, but for those the water did affect, it was a soggy and sad day.
And the whole basement took on water.
Rebecca Blessing has had better days. Just last week, her bottom floor was brimming with her son's books and belongings, and now they bask in the sun on the front lawn. The shock of floodwater filling her home has now morphed into misery.
Good evening. We start here in the Weather Center tonight after a day of snow has just left us buried. I'm Lauren Thompson here with Chief Meteorologist David Young. So David, the question is the worst over, or are we going to see some more?
There's more snow to come, but we are through the worst of it, so that's the good news. Here's a look at the Doppler right now, which shows snowfall still across Jackson County down towards Hillsdale.
All right, thanks David. Well, we head outside now for a live look at the latest conditions. Alicia Bergio is here for you now outside our TV6 studios. Alicia, how's it looking out there right now?
Now let me take out my ruler and measure how much snow we have right out here outside the station. Corey, go ahead and take a little zoom in right here. We have about 6 inches or so.
And as you can see, we're getting a lot of snow in Jackson right now, and it continues to pile up. But the U.S. Postal Service says it's important not to forget about your mail carrier. So what that means is clearing a nice path for your mail carrier up your front steps and on your sidewalk. And they say if it's too dangerous to deliver your mail, they can cut off off your service.
This snow day today caused disruptions and delays, but not everyone was out of commission. Many people have to tough it out at work or at home, even when the weather works against them. Jorma Duran is outside live right now. He spoke with many people about how they handled this classic snow day. So how was it out there, Jorma?
Well, snowy, slippery, slow going out there on the roadways, but for some, super fun. Bottom line, Lauren, a day like today affects us all in one way or another.
The snow never stopped. And neither did Dave Heidi. He runs Heidi's Snow Removal, a private operation that plans to plow more than 100 driveways and parking lots over the next few days, and that's just fine with him.
Love this stuff, you know. This is the best snow of the year.
Mid-Michigan is digging out from under a thick blanket of snow tonight, and there's more on the way. We have team coverage for you tonight with Jorma Duran, Alicia Bergio, and Madeline Odell live in Lansing, and Aaron Dimmick is in Jackson.
Law enforcement are, of course, out in full force when it storms like this, and Madeline Odell joins me right now live, and she had an opportunity to be with Ingham County Sheriff Wigglesworth. How'd the day turn out?
Yeah, that's right. Actually, it was very eye-opening just how many people were going fast on the highway today. And in fact, when we were in the squad car, a Jeep was going so fast behind us that it tried to brake, spun out of control, and went into the ditch right behind our car. Yeah. And so that's why Sheriff Wigglesworth only has one piece of advice to share with drivers.
Are you driving a little bit too fast?
Take it slow. Those are 3 words Ingham County Sheriff Scott Wigglesworth could not stress enough when it comes to driving in the snow.
So the biggest thing that people aren't doing today is slowing down. I think they can drive same or similar speeds in this kind of conditions, and I've seen 1,000 cars today driving way too fast.
And it's that speed.
Just cruising. Look at the semi coming by us. He's going at least 60 miles an hour. He hits us coming up over that hill, it's a wrap.
It really is incredible to think that yesterday we were in the 60s, breaking record high temperatures. It is winter after all, but we're back in the 30s tonight, but that was really the recipe for this flood. In fact, let's kind of break this down for you, what led to this epic flooding across mid-Michigan. Well, so we had 15.3 inches of snow since February the 3rd, 11 inches on the ground as of the 12th, which equates to about an inch of liquid just laying there waiting. On Monday, we made it to the low 50s. Then as we moved into Tuesday, that was the record-breaking highs that we saw in the lower 60s. Very warm weather, so that obviously, along with the rainfall, was really melting the snow, but the ground was still frozen, so it had nowhere to go but into our streams, creeks, rivers, and onto our roads. And we certainly saw that building up, leading to those flooding conditions. And we're talking about 2 to 4 inches of rain with the additional inch of liquid that we melted from the snowfall. And the end result, the color-coded dots tracking where the rivers are in trouble. And there's lots of oranges, yellows, and reds, and purples showing up, indicating either minor and or major flooding taking shape across the region. And it's really the Grand and Looking Glass across mid-Michigan and the Red Cedar that are experiencing most of the flooding. A couple more rivers for you as we take a look out there at the Looking Glass. Good news is it's going to crest pretty soon out there tomorrow afternoon. The bad news is it will be a record-setting crest for the Looking Glass. We looked at the Grand River in Lansing earlier. How about Jackson? Not record-setting, but it does get pretty close. And you see it stays quite high even into the end of the week. Today, one of those incredible days weather-wise, at least visually outside. We didn't have big severe weather, but we had a lot of showers and storms across portions of the area. That's cooled us into the 60s for the most part. Our social tracker, very active this afternoon. What a gorgeous shot. This line of showers and storms was so narrow that as soon as the rain moved in, you could see the sun behind it. Brett showing just that. Beautiful shot out of the Meyer parking lot. Another shot from Jessica showing the dark clouds beginning to push in with the first line of showers and thunderstorms. This was in Langsburg, just north of Langsburg this evening. And another shot with that sun kind of backlighting these storms over DeWitt from Jessica. What a gorgeous looking shot. And how about this shot from Brian? Watching this from Lake Odessa. There's an important feature on this. We see this quite a bit here in mid-Michigan. This is called a shelf cloud. It's not a tornado, it is a shelf cloud. Often precedes thunderstorms or lines of storms. But what exactly makes a shelf cloud? Well, we've got a thunderstorm. Thunderstorms, as we know, it cools things off quite a bit. The cool air comes rushing out. It bumps into the warm air ahead of the line of showers and thunderstorms, and that in and of itself forms a cloud out ahead of that main line. Now, what it looks like, as you saw from the social tracker shot, this is the time lapse from our St. John's Tower cam. There it is, right there. Beautiful little shelf cloud or roll cloud, another word we use for that, and we sometimes call it an arcus. That's another meteorological term for that shelf cloud. On the back side of that, that's where you get the heavy rainfall. And there you saw it was very brief. And then look at that. Is that not gorgeous?
Loved ones demand answers after a brilliant woman's career was cut short by a life-changing accident, and she still hasn't gotten any of the money the courts say she's owed. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Lauren Thompson.
And I'm Sherry Jones. Elizabeth Ostendorf was looking forward to a very long career that would have benefited the whole world. But one faithful day derailed those plans forever.
Tonight, in a two-part report, Alexandra Illich explains what went wrong and why Ostendorf and her family are still waiting for justice.
911. Hey, there's been an accident over at Sips off of Trowbridge.
On October 10th, 2014,
a lady was hit with a car.
A routine walk to her car from work tragically changed her life forever.
She's not moving, but she is alive. Can you please hurry?
Ostendorf was crossing a pedestrian walkway when she was run over by a university vehicle. That vehicle was driven by an MSU student employee.
When she first arrived on the gurney, she was a patient who arrived gurgling on her own blood, barely conscious.
Dr. Lynn Munoz was the receiving trauma surgeon at Sparrow Hospital when Ostendorf came into the emergency room. The following is part of a video deposition describing Ostendorf's overall condition.
Well, I didn't think she'd live.
I have been mortified that this woman has been denied justice for 3.5 years.
After her accident in 2014, Ostendorf's now husband pursued a lawsuit against the university, which raised an important question. What legal obligations does MSU have to Ostendorf? The university determined that she is not eligible for workers' compensation benefits because she's here on a visa.
Because she's not entitled to workers' comp, she is entitled to pursue a liability claim against Michigan State. That liability claim was in fact pursued, and it was tried in April of 2017.
Elizabeth Ostendorf won that lawsuit and a judgment for $7.5 million in 2017. But more than a year after that decision, and even though MSU agrees she should have the money, she has yet to see a single cent of it.
Tonight, we're sharing the gut-wrenching story of a local woman who was sold for sex for years.
She agreed to sit down with our Siobhan Klepfer to share details that she says she's never even told many of her own family members.
Siobhan's here for you now live in our studio with her story.
Good evening, everybody. For the purpose of this story, we're calling her Amy. Amy was a new mom and in her early 20s when she started having night terrors and knew something was wrong. She went to a therapist and learned she had repressed memories, but she wasn't ready to open that door. Decades later, roughly 3 years ago, Amy decided it was time. What she learned about her childhood is heartbreaking.
I'm the big, dark, dirty secret of the family.
And Amy still is, but that ends right now. Tonight, Amy has a voice. Tonight, she speaks her truth.
I just assumed I was molested, like molested by multiple, because it would have always been my mom's boyfriends and people like my mom was attached to. So that's kind of how, how it started.
And it started when she was just 4 years old. She says her own mother was the one setting things up.
Michigan State Police say that human trafficking is happening right here in mid-Michigan.
It's possible it could be going on in your own neighborhood or maybe in the house next door. But do you know the signs of human trafficking well enough to alert authorities if you suspect it?
Michigan State Police recently created a video showing you what to look for when it comes to spotting human trafficking. Take a look and see if you notice the signs. On the surface, everything looks like a normal day, people interacting and going about their business. But it's what you might not see right away that's criminal.
It takes a special kind of mind to move freight mile after mile.
And I've always loved driving.
Yeah, probably always will.
Richard Harris has been hauling goods for nearly 20 years. He says a lot has changed in the trucking industry since he first started, both serious and silly.
And two, our horn's not as loud anymore, so like, that's not as loud on back in the day. You hit that horn, it was like,
But he's changed too, because truckers like Harris are now aware of a major problem deeply rooted in the trucking industry. Human trafficking is frequently found at truck stops.
We've got the 12th annual Warbirds over Michigan event. Most of the planes you're going to see are balsa buildup, which means they come in kit form and they have to put them together as sticks. We've got everything from 20 cc's all the way up to 200 cc engines on the field today.
Make it fun. I'm rarely looking at pictures or ideas. Most of the flowers are out of my head. Teresa here at the Keene store has family in Zeeland. I'm from Holland. Zeeland's right next door to Holland. And there's a coffee shop I did in Holland. They had seen it and thought it was the most amazing thing ever and figured they'd want to add something like this to their city. So they contacted me. I came out, gave them my idea, and we kind of met in the middle, and here we are.
Michigan voters will decide whether or not to legalize recreational marijuana on Election Day. 9 other states have already done that. So rather than speculate what might happen here, we asked our sister stations in those states to tell us what happened there. We begin a 10-part series tonight looking at Oregon. It's one of the first states to legalize recreational marijuana. And as Dan Tilkin reports, it's brought a lot of money in for schools, police, and mental health programs, but it's also raised concern about the black market.
In the 3 years since recreational marijuana has been for sale in Oregon, tax revenues have far exceeded projections. The state estimated the tax would bring in $35 million a year, but it's ballooned from $20 million to $70 million to more than $80 million, with projections of $90 million next year and $100 million shortly after that.
We're joined now by gubernatorial candidate Gretchen Whitmer. Thanks for being with us. So why do you want to be governor?
Well, I love the state of Michigan. I am so proud to be a Michigander, but I look around at the Michigan in which my kids are growing up, and it does not live up to the Michigan I think of when I talk about my pride. Right now, our schools are falling behind. Our roads are a disaster. Too few of us have high-wage skills, and too many of us can't turn on the tap and drink the water coming out of it. We've got some serious challenges that we need to tackle, and I'm ready to work with everyone who wants to get them done.
Democrat Gretchen Whitmer will be our state's next governor. She just took the stage for her victory speech just moments after Republican Bill Schuette conceded. Our Siobhan Klepfer is with the Democrats in Detroit.
Siobhan, there's lots of excitement there tonight, isn't there?
Yeah, lots of excitement, especially at 10:45 when Gretchen Whitmer took the stage, all smiles, thanking people and waving people along the way. One of the very first things she said in her acceptance speech was, I guess it's now time to fix the roads.
Dozens of Lansing area women are rolling up their sleeves this week to take part in Habitat for Humanity's annual Women's Build. And check that out. That's Sherry Jones on a rooftop. Yes, we spent the entire day today in Lansing working to tear off a roof for a local veteran and his family, and then we will replace the roof through the week with different teams of women, all from the community. There's Siobhan at the top. Now, we were anchored there, but this was hard work, but work that is well worth it.
Well, we are halfway through our 6 News annual Safety Day giveaway, and this year we're handing out 1,000 free carbon monoxide detectors and other safety-related items. Sherry Jones has a look at how things went in Jackson this morning.
Hi, Siobhan. We're here at the King Center in the city of Jackson for our annual Safety Day giveaway. We've had a fantastic turnout. The doors opened at 9 o'clock this morning, and it has been a constant stream of people who are very anxious to get a hold of their carbon monoxide detectors. They're right here and they're battery operated. You are so welcome. Thank you for coming out. We put the batteries in here and then we test them every 3 months just to make sure that they're working. You install them low on the ground in your bedroom, and it's good for 10 years. We're really, really excited to be able to provide the people here in Jackson this opportunity this morning, and then we'll be in Lansing later this afternoon. Let's talk to some of the people in line. I know you've been waiting here. Tell me why this is important to you to keep your family safe.
Because the carbon monoxide is a silent death. You can't hear it, you can't see it, you can't smell it, and it's better to be safe with one in your home than to be sorry.
For 12 hours now, 6 News has been collecting food and monetary donations for our annual Day of Giving to help make sure that no one in mid-Michigan goes hungry over the holidays.
We've been at 2 locations today, here in Lansing and in Jackson, and now we are in our final stretch. Let's start off here outside our studio in the capital city. Siobhan Klepfer joins us now live. Siobhan, does it look like we're going to reach our collection goal?
Well, Lauren, our goal was to beat last year, and on the food front, we are definitely going to do that. We were hoping to beat the 2,000 pounds of food last year. We're going to do that this year. I'm happy to report we're expecting over 3,000 pounds of food, thanks to all the generosity in this community. As for the monetary donations, we're still counting those up. We know we got a lot of checks today, so we'll let you know, but we're hoping to beat $14,000 in donations. Jackson was another location, and Diane Phillips is down there. Diane, how's it going where you are?
So we can see here that we don't have the van full quite yet. So make sure you head on down. We're here at One Energy Plaza in front of Consumers Energy. So head on down. We want to get this filled up before we leave here at 6:30.
Well, we are out of the studio today. We are at NCG Cinema for a very important cause. It's the kettle drive for the Salvation Army. For those of you hear that familiar bell ringing every year. Really important this time of the year to help out. This money raised by the Salvation Army is going to stay right here in mid-Michigan, helping those in need.
These young Spartans have been battle-tested, playing through adversity to rise, fall, and rise again.
Winston at 3.
Expectations have never been higher as the brackets unfold and the big dance begins. It's all about making a run down a road that is one and done. While the Big Ten tournament champion Wolverines battle through the brackets,
Ankle breaker.
Will the Spartans find a way to march through the madness? To take on all challengers in a march to glory.
Well, the bracketologists all had it wrong. Said you had no chance at Detroit. What does that tell us about bracketologists?
Well, I think bracketologists have had a lot of funny things going on this year. I look at some of those teams and I'm so confused because it's such a moving target on how you should schedule, what you should do. But, I've taken a different approach the last couple of years, to be honest with you, and that's, I don't care.
Entering his 12th season with high hopes, Coach D'Antonio has his Spartans dialed in and forging forward.
We had winners off the field, not just on the field.
Experience is back with chemistry, relationships, and leadership to guide them through the point of attack.
We got to bring it every Saturday.
Play with urgency and find those inches that will lead them to success. This is Countdown to Kickoff.
I believe there's another reason for the optimism. People around here need to feel good again. It's been a long year around here for reasons I don't need to outline.
Yeah.
Can football be a part of the healing process?
I think it can. I think we want to be part of the solution. I've said that before. Now, part of that is just going out and playing well. Another part of it is handling ourselves socially, doing things in the community that we do and making just life a little bit better for young people.
We started off with a big game, and this one was a lot different than last year's tilt between the same two schools in the opener. And that one, Okemos and Mason, the Chieftain won 46-0. Mason, an improved team, came out fired up, and Mike Crum in his first game as head coach of the Okemos Chieftains. Mason's quarterback, Silas Wall, with the snap passes to Zach Haynes. Look at his dipsy doodle move. Gets by the defenders into the end zone, and Mason's off to a quick start.
People will say, well, what music is he dancing to? He looks so happy. I said, there's no music. He's just having a ball dancing.
This is CJ Reamer's after-school routine. He gets off his school bus and dances down the driveway. The 14-year-old's been busting moves since September.
Like dabs and cool and sipping.
do like that and fast and like that.
It started when school started. He would get off the bus, and he, you know, a lot of kids at that age like their independence. Mom, don't come out and check on me. So I would just kind of wave to the bus driver, and I would hide behind the tree because I'm like, hey, I'm here. And then all of a sudden he would start dancing down the driveway. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to video that.
It's fun. It makes people happy.
Yeah, it's making a lot of people happy.
Yes.
A lot of people, thanks in part to some unlikely dance partners.
Show them the dance, CJ! Do it!
This video has been viewed more than 5,000 times.
The Grangers were here taking the garbage for us, and they asked me why I was out there, and I said, well, my son's getting off the bus and he loves to dance down the driveway. Do you want to join him? And they said, sure.
Live from WLNS TV, this is 6 News at 6.
Huge news today as MSU settles with the survivors of Larry Nassar's abuse to the tune of $500 million. 6 News is here for you tonight with team coverage of how victims are responding, how MSU officials feel about the settlement, and with reaction from campus. We start tonight with a breakdown of the settlement itself. Jorma Duran is here for you now live in our studio. Jorma, how does the settlement work and where is all that money going?
Lauren, we spoke today with an attorney who represents more than 100 of the women and girls involved in the massive civil suit that includes MSU. He says the victims are getting the lion's share of the $500 million settlement. $425 million will go to current abuse survivors who have already filed claims, and that means at least 330 women and girls. This is all a result of Larry Nassar's conviction of sexually abusing his patients under the guise of medical treatment while working as a gymnastics doctor at Michigan State. Now, that money will not be divided equally between all the victims. It will be dispersed based on criteria, including when they were assaulted, whether they were a minor at the time, the duration of the assaults against them, and the impact it has had on their lives, for instance, if they required medical treatment or therapy. The remaining $75 million of the settlement will go into a trust fund for any future claims, since more Larry Nassar survivors are still coming forward. Now, to be clear, this settlement only covers the lawsuits against MSU. They do not involve any of the other defendants being sued by Nassar survivors. Right now, that list includes USA Gymnastics, the U.S. Olympic Committee, the Twistars Gymnastics Club, the club's owner, John Geddert, or the Carollis, a famous gymnastics training couple who own a ranch in Texas where Nassar also worked. And remember, Nassar himself has been sentenced to 60 years in federal prison, as well as more than a century behind bars for assaults in Ingham and Eaton counties. Lauren, back to you.
All right, thank you, Jorma. We send things now to Alexandra Illich. She reached out to some of these survivors to get their response to the settlement today. She joins us now live from our newsroom. Allie, what are they saying?
Those I've talked to say they're relieved. It's been a very long process for many of these women, especially those who have been at the forefront since the very beginning. And it hasn't been easy. Some of them have been mocked or accused of being called ambulance chasers just looking for a payday. Money is not something these women say they're looking for. They want to make sure that when the next young girl or boy tells an adult that they were sexually abused, that the adult will listen. And as you're about to hear, just because the litigation phase of this process is over, the fight for change is only just beginning.
Very happy with the resolution. I think it's definitely a good first step. I think there's a lot of room we can grow with policy, changes there, and all of us being advocates for the children of Michigan and children in the future, making sure nothing like this can ever happen again and making sure we're taking preventative measures.
Rachel Denhollander, the first to come forward about the abuse, feels the same. In a statement today, she said she's grateful that the litigation process is over, but remains deeply disappointed at the missed opportunity for meaningful reform at MSU. She says, quote, "The fight for change and accountability, the fight to give survivors a voice and protect the next generation has only just begun. We intend to stand united with and for all survivors of abuse as we work together towards these goals." You'll hear from more women coming up later tonight at 11. Michigan State University is also speaking out about the settlement. Aaron Jordan picks things up from here with more on what officials there are saying.
MSU trustee Joel Ferguson told me today that the settlement is a good thing for both the accusers and MSU, saying he hopes it helps both sides move forward.
Well, I think the settlement, we bring closure for the victims and survivors.
And Ferguson vowed the board's work is not going to stop.
We're going to be working extra hard to make certain nothing like this ever happens again, and that we make certain our campus is really safe, and that we have the checks and balances so a person like Nassar could never slip through the cracks.
He also praised the work of MSU Interim President John Engler, Board of Trustees Chair Brian Breslin, and Special Counsel to MSU and former Michigan Supreme Court Chief Justice Robert Young. He credits them with making the settlement possible.
Without them, we couldn't have brought closure to this, or into this chapter.
Interim President John Engler also weighed in on the settlement, saying a successful mediation process was a priority for him since he took the job, adding, "The entire MSU community has worked hard at changes to make sure a monster like Larry Nassar could never again hide on our campus. Today's announcement is important in the healing process for both the survivors, but also for the university as we collectively move forward." You can see what other MSU officials are saying online right now at WLNS.com. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Aaron. Well, the settlement announcement took some MSU students on campus by surprise. As Dana White reports, student leaders consider this to be a step in the right direction, but they also feel more needs to be done before real change is accomplished.
It's definitely encouraging. It's a step forward for survivors. It's good that MSU is taking some action, but there still are a lot of concerns.
Natalie Rogers helped start Reclaim MSU with the goal in mind, to create a culture of transparency on campus. She says the Larry Nassar victim settlement is a good start, but she also says that justice isn't monetary.
We still need substantial policy changes. We still need resignations. We still need some form of apology from MSU that isn't just money.
Jennifer Collins is the aunt of an MSU student and agrees that it's important for the university to do more than just a settlement.
I'd say no amount of money can really repay the victims for what they've been through.
Rogers says the impact of the Nassar scandal is taking a toll on the campus community. And although the university is taking some action, she says it needs to continue.
What happened didn't just hurt the survivors, it also hurt everyone who cares about MSU. So we need to know that our leaders and this institution is going to take real steps to account for what happened here.
Here for you in East Lansing, Dana White, 6 News.
Michigan Attorney General Bill Schuette weighed in on the settlement today, applauding the deal. He says he's pleased with the agreement and that every woman who came forward against Nassar deserves justice. Schuette's office was involved in prosecuting the criminal side of the Nassar case. Special counsel Bill Forsyth says the criminal investigation is still open and ongoing. The AG's office also filed an administrative complaint against former MSU Dean Dr. William Strample today. It accuses Strample of health code violations stemming from his own actions and the Nassar scandal. Now, the complaint alleges that Strample made inappropriate comments to female students, had inappropriate photos on his computer, including nude pictures of MSU students and pornography. It also claims that Strample aided and abetted Larry Nassar by not reporting his violations. Strample continues to deny accusations of wrongdoing against him. Meanwhile, ESPN announced in a tweet today that Nassar survivors will be honored at the 2018 ESPY Awards with the Arthur Ashe Courage Award. The network says it wants to acknowledge the survivors for speaking up, fighting back, and demanding accountability. The award is presented to people whose bravery transcends sports. Well, stay with 6 News. We are covering every angle of the Larry Nassar scandal, and we will continue to bring you the latest developments as they happen. Well, stick around. David Young is up after the break. He has your forecast for you. Thanks for watching 6 News at 6. We'll be right back.
This is Weather First from Storm Tracker 6. Brought to you by Auto Owners Insurance, the no problem people.
Today is one of those pure Michigan days. Temperatures near 80, light winds, just gorgeous out there. And we're still in the upper 70s, close to 80 degrees. Satellite and radar, a couple things of note. First and foremost, the beautiful skies we have overhead. We're also watching the clouds to our south. There is a bit of moisture gathering there, and that may play a role in our forecast as we head into the weekend. We'd hope some of this moisture would stay south and east, but I think it may pay us a visit by late Friday night. Temperatures across the area this afternoon, 77 Howell, Mason 78, mid-70s in Charlotte. Everyone very comfortable outside. Our live conditions, blue skies, lots of blue skies on our St. John's Tower cam, and our current temperature in downtown St. John's at 80 degrees. Perfect out there. Winds west at around 5-6 miles per hour. WLNS Tower cam, not to be outdone. More blue skies. Temperature a little cooler, 79 degrees. So we check out the view currently on our Grand Ledge Tower cam. Temperature sits at 80 degrees. Also seeing plenty of sunshine. Few more clouds showing up on the Jackson cam this afternoon. Not much, but it does make a little bit of a difference. Temperature in the upper 70s. West winds at 6. And the Hillsdale Tower cam, few cumulus clouds, but none that are going to give us any rainfall. Temperature is definitely a little cooler the further south you go this afternoon, ironically enough, with readings in the mid to the upper 70s. As we check out Precision Cast for the overnight hours, no changes to the forecast, mostly clear skies. Really nice start today, tomorrow. I think the only thing you'll notice tomorrow is a little more wind in the afternoon. Temperature still upper 70s, close to 80. But now we start to watch this moisture to our south. Thursday night and into Friday, that area of low pressure is drifting north and east, but then it kind of puts the brakes on as we head into Friday morning. By Friday afternoon, that low pressure will drift a little further towards the west-northwest, and as it does so, it'll begin to move some clouds and some precipitation in our direction. The rainfall stays south of the state line through sunset, but by Friday night into early Saturday morning, chance for some rain beginning to move into the area. The good news is most of it comes during the overnight hours. It looks like as we move into Saturday afternoon, this area of precipitation will shift further east, get out of our area, and we'll see drier conditions returning, and that could bode well for Sunday's forecast as well. Tonight, we'll see low temperatures dropping into the mid-50s, mostly clear skies, average lows in the upper 40s, so a bit on the mild side. Your Thursday forecast shaping up to be another nice day, high 78 degrees, winds northeast around 5 to maybe 15 miles per hour. The 6-day forecast, so as we move into Friday night, that rain moves in. Saturday during the morning hours, it could begin to slip further east, so just a couple showers out there. On Sunday, it looks like the rain may hold off until late in the day, so really the majority of the weekend may end up being okay. Highs in the upper 70s, a few morning showers on Monday, the 6-day forecast. Highs remain pleasant between 75 and 80 as we head through next week into next weekend, and overnight lows generally in the 50s. Here's a look at your traffic tracker this afternoon, which is just fine. All green on the area highways, so travel weather and the roads right now in good shape. We slide further south on 127 into Jackson County, looking good as well. No accidents to report, and I love giving that kind of good news. I've got good news in the weather. I've got good news on traffic. What's next?
Yeah, you're 2 for 2 today, right?
Doing okay.
Just roll down the windows, enjoy the weather, and it looks like we're in a nice pattern too. A little bit of rain, but overall really nice.
And not the heavy rain that we've seen. Some rain we get the beneficial rain that gets out of here.
Right, yeah, we're definitely already soggy. We don't need more of that. All right, thanks, David. Well, up next here on 6 News at 6, we continue our special report on Michigan's hidden secret and hit the road with state police for a first-hand look at the state of sex trafficking here in the capital city. Stay with us. Our special 6 News investigation of Michigan's hidden secret continues tonight with an in-depth look into the sex trafficking that's happening right here in Lansing. I recently rode along with a Michigan State Police trooper who's found himself at the forefront of these investigations as more and more cases are reported locally. We're out on the streets of Lansing with Michigan State Police Trooper Sam North.
This is one of the areas that I'll drive through here and there and see if we can come up with anything.
As he patrols Lansing's neighborhoods looking for any signs of sex trafficking and prostitution.
Lansing's a big enough city where it is prevalent and it's happening every day.
Both on and off the road, these days Trooper North spends more and more time investigating local cases of sex trafficking.
I think people would be surprised about how much sex trafficking there is in Lansing.
It's not a crime he set out to become an expert in, but one that rose to the forefront when he discovered his first case during a traffic stop at the corner corner of Pennsylvania and Hazel, less than a mile from Potter Park Zoo.
I actually stopped it just right up here by this white truck over there.
During that stop, Trooper North says some things just didn't add up, like the age and relationship of the 3 people inside.
The girl in the front seat also gave me an out-of-state ID card, which can be a red flag in these cases as well, because a lot of times with prostitution, people travel. It ended up being a case that was charged locally here for human trafficking.
That case led to another, and that one to another, and Trooper North soon found himself submerged in local investigations.
There are a lot of places that are known as houses of prostitution in the Lansing area. This could be an area for that. There's a lot of drug use in this area. There's a lot of criminal activity.
Sex trafficking is hidden under the dark veil of prostitution. It's a crime that looks a lot different here in Lansing these days. In the past, women could be seen walking the streets day and night, approaching prospective clients who drove by. But Trooper North says that, for the most part, has changed.
Nowadays with the internet, it's so easy for an ad to be posted for prostitution and have a date scheduled between the customer and between the John and the girl, where they can just drive directly from their house to the John's house or to a hotel, and there's really not that much advertising that you see on the streets.
And that's not the only difference. Prostitution was for many years considered a victimless crime, but now Trooper North says the old thought that women are prostituting themselves for their own personal gain couldn't be further from the truth.
What's usually happening is there is some sort of manipulation, there's some sort of benefit to somebody else.
And many of the women are victims of someone they trust.
The victims might have a dating relationship, or at least think that they're in a dating relationship, or that their boyfriend loves them, or this guy loves them, and yeah, you know, he's got these other girlfriends too, but I'm the most important one, and they're only here to help out, you know, occasionally for a little bit so that we can pay for rent. Anything could be justified in their heads because what they're feeling is emotional and it's not necessarily logical.
While the majority of cases Trooper North has seen involve adults, children are very often the victims of this growing crime.
I've had cases where it's been a daughter of a suspect where the mom's been the trafficker.
And while sex trafficking is happening everywhere, he says it's more concentrated in the cities.
The more people there are, low income, struggling families, people with drug addiction, all those things kind of are risk factors for prostitution, and when you have a lot of that in a small area, you're going to get a lot more prostitution.
They're going to take you.
Sex trafficking is a scary thing, but it's not like you see in the movies. You aren't likely to be randomly grabbed, kidnapped, drugged, and sold for sex.
I don't want people to be scared that if they go to the store, they're going to be sex trafficked. I mean, that's not going to happen. I think it's safe to say that you can go grocery shopping in Lansing.
But Trooper North warns that these days, our children are all vulnerable of being lured away by someone who wants to sell them for sex, no matter where you come from or where you live.
My best recommendation for people to avoid that would be to not let your kids use social media, but especially young kids, but if they are using social media, you better be watching what they're doing because anything can happen.
While new legislation and many new programs aim to help survivors, Trooper North says despite growing efforts to stop it, sex trafficking will never really go away as long as there are people out there who are willing to pay for sex. Well, if you are being trafficked or you know someone who might be and you need help, you can call the National Human Trafficking Resource Center. That number is 888-3737, 888. We also have a list of resources in the Scene on 6 section of WLNS.com. And tomorrow here on 6 News at 6, we look at a growing movement from an organization called Truckers Against Trafficking. Its mission is to educate, equip, empower, and mobilize members of the trucking and busing industries to combat human trafficking. Jorma Duran will show you how they're doing it. That's tomorrow as we continue our special investigation of Michigan's hidden secret. Well, stay with us. David is back after the break. He has a final check of your forecast. Well, the warm weather has returned, so what are we wearing tomorrow?
Let's take a look at the wheel of wardrobe. No, just kidding. No snow boots needed tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to go with the t-shirt because temperatures, they're going to be warm in the afternoon in the upper 70s. My daughter was determined to wear just her t-shirt this morning and shorts as opposed to long pants and a long sleeve shirt. But she said, Daddy, it's just too warm. And she's right. It was nice out there. The 6-day forecast is more warm weather through the weekend. Highs a little cooler, low to mid 70s. It doesn't rain all day Saturday or Sunday. It looks like the best chance is Saturday morning and then again Sunday evening. Highs in the upper 70s on Monday, some morning showers, mid 70s on Tuesday, and it stays warm in that 6+ 6-day forecast. Highs between 75 or 80 and a little bit better next Sunday, 81 degrees. Maybe a few storms around on Saturday, but no major storm systems around, which the rivers are still running quite high. So we need a little more, plenty more, in fact, a lot more dry out time to let those rivers recede a little bit. Not obviously as bad as the big flood we had a couple months ago, but still they're pretty high out there.
Safe to say the winter stuff is out, though, right?
It's done, yeah. Safe to plant now.
Just dressing in layers. A little cool in the morning and then soaking up the sun and warmth by the afternoon.
Yeah, don't forget the sunscreen, by the way. UV index is pretty high the next few days.
All right, good tip. Thanks, David. And thank you for watching 6 News at 6. We hope you have a great evening, and then we'll see you back here again tonight for 6 News at 11.